Well, I was going to talk about something which, as you can't remember yours, one of the things we did in New York, because the girls came with us,
Right.
Kimberly and Lucy, and on the aircraft carrier, which you can go on, this aircraft carrier, which actually used to pick up the spacemen in the even before Apollo, there were there's a one man, the first people that they sent into space, a one man Mercury capsule,
Right.
and then it was a two-man Gemini capsule, and
Right.
they were like tin cans. I mean, anyway, the ships used to pick them up because they came down on parachutes into the ocean, and they've got one of the on this aircraft carrier. They've got one of the Gemini capsules there. I forget which one,
Right.
but it's actually there, and you could actually get inside it. Now, I mean, I can vaguely remember I've been to the Science Museum in London, and you see a similar thing. I went there a few years ago.
Yeah.
Um, if I wanted to get into it, the way the two astronauts got in there,
Yeah.
they had to get in, lay on their back with their head facing the door,
Right.
and their legs straight up in the air. So you weren't sitting or anything like that. Anyway, Kimberly and Lucy, they thought they'd go in there, and we took some quite good pictures. And I mean, first of all, I found it, there was something, what's the word? Well, something incredible about the fact that they were sitting, sitting's not the word, they were positioned
Yeah.
in this tiny, tiny capsule, like a tin of beans, really. It
Yeah.
had one tiny window, that's all it had. So when you were locked in, you can't imagine the claustrophobia. I mean, these spacemen could not have had claustrophobia. And
Yeah.
but with Kimberly and Lucy in there, I mean, Lucy went in first, but I mean, it's typical. She's confident and she does those things. And she's quite tall. Lucy is about 5'8", 5'9", and it said that the height limits for an astronaut was 5'11", which actually surprised me because that's quite tall. Anyway,
Yeah.
they were in there, not sat, they were in this machine, this capsule, and loads of people came around and were taking pictures of them because generally very few people would have the confidence. It's so a display on one of their decks on this
Yeah.
aircraft carrier to do that. But anyway, it was great. But so there was a feeling that wow, that that capsule, that tin can took some of the first astronauts up into orbit because Gemini
Yeah.
did go into orbit. And there's something just about that, the fact that they've positioned themselves inside this thing. But I suppose it also made me think about how some people don't have any sense of claustrophobia. Now, I'm not saying that of Kimberly and Lucy, but the spacemen and even the people who went into the shuttle and certainly Apollo, they
Yeah.
could have had no qualms about doing that. And yet, I remember watching a program once on TV a few years ago with, I think her name's Kate Humble. She's a reporter. She used to be a reporter.
Yeah. I know Kate
You probably
Tumble.
heard
Yeah.
of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. And she did a report on some cavers, some potholers, and it was actually filmed as she did this. But she followed them into. She was part of the party into the probably five or six of them into this cave, and obviously the gaps they were getting through were getting smaller and smaller until they said to her, "Look, we're now got to get through to the other side." I mean, they knew where they were going, these people, and what was there. And
Yeah.
some of the sights in this cave were fantastic. And they said, "But we've got to crawl through this tunnel. It's 100 yards long." Now you think what 100 yards is like,
Wow.
and the tunnel,
Yeah.
you just had to go in and crawl.
Yeah.
It's difficult even to crawl because above your head was the tunnel. And so I thought, my God, it actually turned my stomach just thinking about what that would feel like, especially when there's someone in front of you, someone behind you. And if you got panicky because you're just so in such an enclosed space,
Yeah.
you can't imagine what would happen. But I mean, she did it, and someone in there was. I think the front person was filming as they were going, and eventually they came out into this big open place in the cave. And as
Yeah.
far as I remember, he then eventually found another exit, which wasn't going back through that thing. But again, when I watched that, it made me realise. I mean, I think I would say I've always been a bit claustrophobic in some situations and in others not. I mean, I've never been a great fan of elevators. I really haven't. But I
No.
think I said before, in America, in New York, we had to use them going up to the big buildings at the top in the hotel, and it was easy. I just got used to it, and you do get used to these things. But and equally, when I mean, I don't get claustrophobic on an aeroplane. I
No.
did wonder because I told you before I went on to Concorde, and that's much smaller inside. It's
Yeah.
two seats and two seats, one aisle, and it's only in the aisle that I could stand up to get into the seats. You sort of bend down, but
Yeah.
I felt no sense of claustrophobia in that situation. But I was going to ask you: would you say in any way you are claustrophobic?
Just hearing you talk about it alone is making me claustrophobic.
But you reckon you'd be all right then, do
No,
you?
I won't. This is what I'm saying. Just hearing you talk about it is making me
Yeah,
claustrophobic, or
making you
whoever's, yeah,
right. I
or
see.
whoever's
Yeah,
going in there.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of height or tight spaces. No.
No, no,
I can
no.
only
I'm not.
do it to survive. If my life depended on it, then
Yeah,
yeah,
you could do it.
yeah. But I wouldn't do it just for the fun of it. I'm not that
No,
cute.
no,
Yeah, I'm not that
no.
curious. I don't want to know what's on the other side.
I mean, you see some of these reels on Facebook and stuff,
Yeah.
and these guys, they're sort of running around the top of a building, and
Oh
just there's
yeah.
kind of bits of metal sticking out, and they're
Yeah.
just running onto those, and there's a massive drop, to the ground.
I know.
So I mean, that's not claustrophobic, but that just again it turns your stomach, doesn't it, to think what could happen in that situation. But I guess all the people like this, they say, people who free climb up buildings.
Yeah.
There's a guy called a Frenchman, Alain Robert, and he posts a lot of stuff on online.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable because you've got these tall buildings all around the world with next to nothing to grip onto.
Yeah.
But he goes right up. I mean, he's been arrested a few times, but he's still alive. I think he's about 62, and he's been
Yeah.
around a long time.
Yeah.
But you just get the feeling that one day he'll fall.
Yeah.
It's almost inevitable because
Yeah.
that is what happens to people eventually, I think, isn't
Eventually,
it?
yeah. Eventually, if they keep up with it, it's bound to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like if you cross the road, if you cross the same road every day for a
yeah,
year, you would have, and at least you would have at least two near misses, if not, and if not, if nothing fatal. Well, you would,
yeah.
it's just the way life is. It's bound to happen. It's just gonna
I think
happen.
they say in this country, they say that a man gets knocked over every 30 seconds, and he's getting very fed up with it as well. That was my little joke to throw in there.
I think we talk about women being strong on this show and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
there's no debate in that. We agree with that, but I think men are very strong as well. Because remember, we take rejections all the time, even from women. We take rejections
well,
all the
yeah.
time. It's like, oh, do you want to go out with me? No, okay.
Well, they tend to hold the cards, don't they? Really, and it was always thus. It was the hunter and the hunted,
I know.
and
So,
yeah, I mean, women are the stronger gender. There's no
oh
question
yeah,
about it.
oh yeah,
And they
they do
have
have.
more. And I do think that they. I think us men we get pulled in various directions because partly because of our biology, you know, partly because of I think that's the way we're programmed.
Yeah,
Whereas I think a woman can somehow she steps back, and I mean, it's a generalisation, but I would trust a woman's judgment in
yeah,
many respects far more than a man's. So certainly a judgment made under pressure because she's not pulled this way and that way in the way
yeah,
that I think we are.
Yeah.
And that's
I think
not
I think
excusing ourselves from that, but I just think we are the weaker gender. It's a sad reality, but it's the way life is, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And I think I would trust a woman driver over a man driver as well. I would, because I think they're very, when they hone in on their skills, they're very, very good at focusing. Men can't focus that much. We can't.
Right,
We
no,
can.
but seriously, seriously, Em, come on, women driver. Of course, there's it goes without saying. There's good men drivers. There's good women drivers.
Yeah,
Um, I do think again. I think what many women would say it themselves. I think there's a slight difference in, if you like, spatial awareness. I think that's. I don't know whether that's a medical fact, but you very often find, and I know this is probably a bit of a dicey area, I'm not criticizing women drivers per se at all,
no,
but you do sometimes find if they're going around to overtake a car that's parked,
yeah,
they go out quite a long way, whereas some men don't need to do that.
yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. I think
Uh,
women are probably safer drivers
yeah,
because they
that's
tend
what
to
I'm
be
talking
more
about. Yeah,
cautious, don't they? They
yeah,
tend to be
yeah,
more cautious.
yeah. I don't know if they're more skilled, but I know they're more cautious. That's the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even the
Yeah.
insurance company does they do favor
Well,
women over.
they recognise it,
Yeah,
don't
they,
they?
yeah, they
Yeah,
recognize it as a fact. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I do believe that women are that. I don't know what it is, but I think they're less risk taking.